gon' touch the sky. Yes, yes, yes. Guess who's on third? Lupe still like Lupe in the third. Here like here till I'm bitter on the curb. Peach fuzz buzz, but bitter on the verge. Let's throw it down like river on the serve. Bottle shaped body like Mrs. Butterworth. But before you say another word, I'm back on the block like a man on the street. I'm trying to stop mine like I'm on round, but I'm not mine when I'm in.
All right, man. I've always wanted to walk out on stage to a super dense but lyrical poem. Who's with me? Yeah? All right. By the sound of applause here, whose favorite part was the Japanese literature references? The implied word? Maybe the triple entendre? No? All right. I don't know. Maybe I misread this crowd. Maybe you guys are more into the punk rock. Is that why you came? We'll try that. I'll be right back. I don't know, you guys are looking skeptical at best that we're going to learn something about business writing from hip-hop and punk rock. So let me give a brief overview here. First, we're going to look at the depth of writing in both these musical genres. Then we're going to look at how content has a great impact on business deliverables. And finally, we're going to look at how some leaders in the technology industry are using content to really advance their platforms. So this is Lupe Fiasco's verse on Kanye West's song, Touch the Sky. That's what we just heard. The number 3 is a powerful motif in Western mythology, going to the 3 fates in Greek mythology, the 3 pilgrimage festivals in Judaism, the Trinity of Divinity in Christianity. So Lupe leans on that by starting by reciting the same word 3 times, and then he asks, guess who's on third? Most people think he's saying that he's the third person, or he's on the third verse, but it actually goes much deeper than that. So Lupe Fiasco is on the third verse of the third song on the album, and he's also the third vocalist on the album. So he's actually on third in 3 distinct ways. Next, he says that he steals the verse from Kanye. But how does he steal it? He steals it like the master thief Lupin III from Japanese manga literature. And for those of you paying attention, he also speaks in the third person here. Unlike most of the other spots on the verse where he references himself in the first person with I, at this point he says Lupe in the third person. Now, this is one of my favorite lyrics of all time because one word has 3 distinct meanings. It's a triple entendre. So Lupe here says that he's like Mumra, and he's trying to stop the lion. So Mumra is a character from 1980s cartoon show Thundercats, and he's the antagonist of the character Mumra, or sorry, of the character Lion-O. So this is Lion-O. As you can see, he's a lion, like Lion. So Mumra is trying to stop him. Now, Mumra is a mummy, so he spends most of his time lying down. So the other way that we can view lying here references the line previous where he says, I'm laying on the street. So this is the second way to interpret the word lying. And then the third way, he is trying to stop not telling the truth, as in the next line where he says, I'm not lying when I'm laying on the beat. I'm not speaking incorrectly when I'm reciting a verse on the beat. So are you guys ready for that obnoxious punk rock song? How many of you guys have heard of Bad Religion? So Bad Religion formed in 1980, and they managed to stay popular and relevant in mainstream music for almost 40 years, due in a large part to the lyrical prowess of their main singer-songwriter, Greg Graffin. So there's a lot of ways to express the thoughts and meanings in his songs, but he goes to great lengths to choose very specific words for their meaning. This is the verse that we just heard. Now, I'm sure most of you guys know all these words, but just in case, we'll go over a couple of them. Ratiocination is the process of exact thinking or reasoning. Practicable is something that's able to be done or put into practice successfully. Probity is the quality of having strong moral principles like honesty and decency. Theophany is the visible manifestation of God or a God to humankind. And creosote is a category of chemicals, but it's also the name of a plant in the Sonoran Desert responsible for the smell of desert rain. And I'm pretty sure he's using the second meaning here because, when God shows up, plants seem to catch on fire. So, if you guys want to follow along, I promise you these are the exact words that he said. Okay, so maybe not everyone's heard of Bad Religion, but I'm guessing you've heard of Eminem. That's not the right slide. Better. Arguably. Well, I'm going to argue it at least. So, similarly to Greg Graffin, Eminem uses words in a way that elevates his art.
I've heard you say that you bend the word. Yeah, it's just in the enunciation of it. Like people say that the word orange doesn't rhyme with anything, and that kind of pisses me off because I can think of a lot of things that rhyme with orange.
So Eminem's mostly right here. There is one word that rhymes with orange according to the Oxford English Dictionary, and it's sporange. It's a small part of a really rare fern, and it's not something you can really work into lyrics very often. So let's take a listen to Eminem's song Brainless, or a small verse from Eminem's song Brainless.
In the storage, still in my skull's a vacant empty void. Been using it doors have been for storage. Takes an inventory in his door. There's a 4-inch door, hinge, syringe, and orange, an extension cord, and a ninja sword.
So Eminem uses enunciation to rhyme syllables from 7 other words in his verse here. But the point really isn't that Eminem can rhyme orange. The point is that he thinks about words so much that he knows all of the rules and goes out of his way specifically to break them. So, now that we've looked at the depth of writing in hip-hop and punk rock, let's look at the ways that this can be applied to business. In music, production, instruments, sales channels, all of these can be used to cover for mediocre writing. In the same way, sometimes we have clients that think that great visual design or UX or coding can cover for mediocre content. But what we're really looking for is using all of those disciplines to come together and create the best possible product for a client. So Kendrick Lamar is widely regarded as one of the greatest rappers of his generation, if not the history of rap, both commercially and critically. So on his song Rigor Mortis, he chooses words for what I might call their sonic pace. Let's take a listen.
Got me breathing with dragons, I'll crack the egg in your basket, you bastard. I'm Marilyn Manson with madness, now just imagine the magic I like to ask is don't ask for your favorite rapper. You got the rest at your residence, whistling to the melody. Couldn't think of a better D, better be on your B&Q. It's just me, J-Rock, Soul and Q, solar system and barbecue, nothing else you can do. The sun is under my feet and I come in peace to compete. I don't run if you athlete, my statistics go up in weeks and I go visit the nearest street and I get busy. Yo, medium C, really ballistic, anybody can see any assistance, everybody to see some persistence, recognize I be really too vicious. The permanent piece and the demolition, bringing up the street, but a partition, and not your key.
So Kendrick starts with around 15 syllables per line in the beginning of his song, but he uses faster delivery and a triplet rhyme scheme to deliver almost 40% more syllables per line by the end of the song. Now, we had a client come into the digital studio looking to talk to their clients about health. But it was a little weird because they were originally a financial services company. So we had to pay attention to the way that we spoke. We used smaller words to start getting that staccato feel to the way that we were writing. And we also wanted to build trust with them, because it's a little weird when your financial services company starts talking to you about your health. So to get that trust going, we wrote headlines that people were familiar reading. So we talked about a free lunch, and we also had a little creative license with something like the early bird gets the worm. Now this allowed us to write a bunch of new content for them, 13,000 net new words of it for this platform, and submit it to their fiduciary legal and compliance team and pass all of it through there so that we were able to maintain this branded content for their consumers. How many of you guys have heard of Jay-Z? Real participatory crowd, this is great. So, Jay-Z uses a small amount of punctuation to completely change the meaning of a line. He says, "I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman." So all of a sudden he's juxtaposing himself, a personal brand that's worth as much as a lot of businesses, with a more traditional businessman that we might envision taking a subway into work with a bagged lunch to an office. But can something this small really affect our business writing? But you guys know I wouldn't ask that if it didn't. Okay, so Podcast Radiolab did this really interesting article or episode called Trust Engineers, in which they looked at how user testing and word choice can have an immense effect on technology platforms. So in the week of Christmas in 2011, Facebook got a record number of photos uploaded to their platform. And subsequently, they had a record number of photo reports submitted to their platform. So this would have required thousands of additional human content moderators and their salaries to go through all of these. But when they looked at it a little bit closer, something seemed odd. They noticed that photos of puppies were being reported as hate speech. Families in matching sweaters were being reported as nudity. Something seemed odd here. So Facebook added an extra screen. It asked how these photos made people feel. Facebook used a series of radio buttons to ask if people were feeling sad or humiliated or embarrassed. And about 50% of people started clicking on these. But something was still weird because about 34% of people were selecting other and then typing in, "it's embarrassing." Which was weird because embarrassing was already something that someone could select. So Facebook didn't know why this was happening, but they added "it's" in front of all the emotions. Suddenly, 78% of people were selecting an emotion, up from that 50%. So understanding the users, their goals, their motivations, and their insecurities helped Facebook avoid hundreds of thousands of dollars in photo moderator resources that they would have had to spend if they didn't get this wording right. But content goes a lot deeper than just a couple words. It goes into the narrative flow of things as well. On Nas's track of Rewind, he tells an entire story backwards, from the quotes to the actions, all the way through. It's in reverse. So let's take a listen. We're in Colorado, so let's be mature about this topic.
Sitting back in his chair, we hitting the ropes. The smoke goes back in the blunt gets bigger and rope. Jungle unrolls it, put his weed back in the jar. The blunt turns back into a cigar. We listen to Steve. It sounded like heavy metal fans spinning records backwards of AC/DC.
Cool. So don't worry, we didn't write anything backwards for a client, but we did really focus on storytelling. So recently we went into a client and did a discovery session with them and found that the way that their employees connected with each other was unlike anything we expected. So we wanted to tell this story about how the whole company talked to each other, how everyone was accessible, everyone greeted everyone on the elevator in the morning. So one of the ways that we focused on storytelling was we introduced these headlines so that the entire homepage actually read as one consistent thought, as well as introducing each individual section. So each headline could be read on its own, but it could also be read as one full sentence throughout the entire page. We felt like that really advanced the storyline, or advanced the story that they were trying to tell, outside of just picking words. Now, I'm not trying to say that every single song that we like has amazing writing behind it, or every app that we use. So, artists like Blink-182 or Drake aren't really known for their intricate wordplay, and neither is the Tinder app. But Spotify here uses content strategy to give their product personality. It's kind of small, so I'll read it to you. It says, let's pretend that never happened. And they use that when you unselect a song. Lyft and Uber use content strategy to differentiate their products. These two screens have the exact same functionality. They allow you to split a ride. But Uber, as a more business-minded platform, just asks if you need 1 or 2 seats. Whereas Lyft here, with their hot pink branding, ask if it's just you or if it's you and a friend. And watching a presentation by one of the content strategists for Instagram actually inspired me to start working on this topic. I mean, Instagram, a platform that's famously image-centric, sees business value in having an on-site or an in-house content strategy team. So here at Deloitte, we need to help our clients start thinking about the stories they want to tell and making sure that we use content and words in a way that's efficient and effective when they're trying to tell them. Thank you very much.